Gruesome Magazine.
Hello once again, I'm your host, Doc Rotten, and this is Gruesome Magazine, where we review the very latest in streaming and video on-demand horror movies. Each week, my co-hosts, Jeff Mohr, Crystal Cleveland, Christopher G. Mohr, and myself will take a look at various spooky, scary, and gory genre offerings. Tonight, we are reviewing Influencer, streaming on Shudder. This is going to be exciting, but let me introduce the crew, starting off with my co-host, Jeff Mohr. Jeff, how you doing, sir?
Well, for some reason, I'm just hungrier than heck for ice cream right now. You guys had to talk about it during the pre-show. Other than that, I'm great.
That was so random. That's cool. Awesome. Also joining us this week is Crystal Cleveland, the Living Dead Girl. What's up?
I'm fabulous.
Fabulous.
I am so great. I'm like, okay, no.
You're a star.
I'm not doing this anymore. I'm just going to say, I'm great, guys. How are y'all?
She's a whitewashing fiend.
No,
yeah. Oh,
nice.
yeah.
Lime
See?
washing.
Yeah.
Lime washing.
Yeah, see. Lime. It's it's close.
Yeah.
It's close. You know what, though? I'm glad that you've recognized that there's a difference because some people don't.
Only because I heard you.
Yes.
Say it.
Also joining us this week is award-winning filmmaker, Christopher G. Mohr.
Oh, you did it fast.
Hi, guys. I'm live streaming here while we're doing the podcast. Okay.
Duck lips.
Well.
We got duck lips here.
Duck lips. I'm doing well, my friends.
Oh, man. All right. Well, before we get into things, we just want to share some quick news with you. We are celebrating 10 years of H&R Gruesome Magazine and decades of horror. Jeff, decades of horror. Yes, we started in 2013 with our first episode reviewing Evil Dead. And we started this year doing our 10-year anniversary reviewing Evil Dead Rise.
Sorry,
All right. And then we are going to be celebrating all year and ending in February of 2024 with our inaugural Grue-Crews. 3 days of horror and fun in the sun.
I'm excited.
I'm melting. I don't know what. I'm still trying to figure out how horror. I don't know.
I'm not the one. I see. For me, I wouldn't be the one picking a cruise. That was you, Doc. So somehow you're like, the boppy bitch out of the bunch. Yeah, that was good. I like alliteration.
That's
I like that.
Like Voyage of the Demeter, you can just stay.
Oh man, yeah, there you go. So
inside the boat,
like
never come out.
Mm-hmm. Actually, I'm kind of thinking about that. Like, there's lots of good food and stuff.
I'm sure you could hide.
Yeah, we'll figure it all out. All right, what we're going to do tonight is we're going to review Influencer. We're going to start off giving you our first impressions. Those first impressions will be spoiler free. Then we'll dive into a discussion about the film and get into some spoilers. We might have to with this because it kind of slides into them left and right.
Yeah.
And then we'll wrap things up with our score 1 to 5 and our favorite scene. All right, let's take a look at the card and get things going. Boink. Doing Influencer, available streaming on Shudder beginning May 26, 2023. The synopsis is, while struggling on a solo backpacking trip in Thailand, social media influencer Madison meets CW, who travels with ease and shows her a more uninhibited way of living. But CW's interest in her takes a darker turn. Directed by Kurtis David Harder, written by Tesh Guttikonda and Kurtis David Harder, and the cast includes Sara Canning, Emily Tennant, Cassandra Naud, Rory J. Saper, and Paul Spurrier and Justin Sams. Tagline: be careful who you follow.
That's pretty good.
Bum, bum, bum.
All right.
I mean, it's no 80s horror movie tag, but it's all right.
No, it works. Christopher, what is your first impression of Influencer?
I will say, when I first started watching it, I'm like, I'm not sure about this because the title credits doesn't happen until like 30 minutes into the movie,
Right. Yeah.
which is a rarity, and I'm like, that's a lot. That's a long time to spend on this. The way that story plays out. And then it almost switches to a totally different story or totally different arc after that. But I will say, as someone who's knowledgeable about a lot of stuff that's going on, like, how, we like AI is very popular right now, and you have like sites you can go on and you can replicate people's voices, and you have the things where you can put your face on other people's, you can Arnold Schwarzenegger, you can replace Arnold Schwarzenegger in the movie Annie and have Arnold Schwarzenegger's face over Annie. And so I think the more interesting thing was you have this character who's I call it, I think this would have been good if it's been called Single White Instagrammer, but
Yeah.
Wow, missed the title there
because it has a single white female vibe, if you remember that from the 90s. But it has a tech angle to it, which is very prescient and very I feel like this could happen to somebody. So I think it became more, although I will say, being a filmmaker and screenwriting and stuff, I there was one point I was like, when this other new character showed up, I thought there was going to be a twist on that. And when that didn't happen, I was like, oh, but that's just me having expectations I probably shouldn't have. But I will say, it does get kind of interesting when the one main evil character, when she's got to get herself out of certain situations, and I think the ending kind of like made me very happy at how it plays out. So I think the ending is a very banger of an ending, which I kind of wondered about through the whole film. But yeah, I think even though parts of it feel like it's trying to be like, because they shot part of it in Thailand, so it feels like if there's parts of it that feel like it was pulled out of some kind of like, vacation video that they could use for Thailand or whatever. But overall, I did enjoy it. I think it got better as it went along, because I was wasn't sure about it in the very beginning, because it felt, some of the conversations felt kind of fake. But again, once it gets into it, especially when we hit after the first title sequence, it gets more interesting, especially when you have this character. And because I was kind of worried, because anytime you see films that are based around influencers and stuff, it seems very fakey, like you're trying to imitate that. But I could definitely see that the people who wrote it definitely did their research on certain elements of it, because we live in a world where people can, you have a guy in, like, I think it was Japan, who he put a filter over himself and made himself to be like this 20-year-old girl or whatever, and he had an Instagram, so all these people felt it was a 20-year-old girl, and then they found out it was some like 40-year-old Japanese guy or Asian guy. So yeah, I think I think this is definitely an angle that took like those kind of 90s horror thrillers back in the day, and puts its own sort of like new twist on it, based on social influencers and social media celebrities and that kind of thing. So yeah, I think this film actually kind of turned me as it went along, and again, the ending, I think, just made me very happy how the ending plays out.
I love it when it sticks to the ending there. All right, Crystal, what was your first impression of Influencer?
I really like this movie. It's shot really well. It is beautiful. Like, Christopher mentioned they shot in Thailand, or some in Thailand. This movie, there's a lot of things I look at with this movie, and I'm like, I would never do that, but I'm not dumb. And I think a lot of women are not that intelligent, because I'm like, who would go alone? Who would be doing this alone? Who would put themselves in that situation? But normally that stuff would annoy me, but I know people that would actually do that. And so I bought it. And so that was okay. Because normally that's what would upset me. It's like, I don't go places alone. It's not smart. It's never smart to do that as a woman. Unfortunately, it's just a fact of life, I almost feel like probably some of these women got out easy this way, considering some of the things that could happen. But I did like all of the characters. I love the actress that plays Jessica. She was in the Vampire Diaries. She's wonderful. Like, so that's the second influencer that came, Doc. If you were wondering, if you're looking her up, because I can see you. I can see you kind of looking her up.
She was great.
Yeah,
she was really great.
I love her. Like to me as an actress, she always looks like she's really like thinking and really reacting to everything, and she's one of the smartest characters. And she kind of it's written well. I mean, there's nothing that's like, with as crazy as this film is, like as far as the content, there's nothing crazy about the film. It doesn't even go too far. Like, you don't really even find out why the villain is doing this, but it doesn't matter. And I appreciate that whoever wrote it or didn't feel the need to give too much. They just gave you what they wanted, and that's the way it was. And I respect that a lot. Like, I think sometimes people want to give too much and too much backstory and too much reason. Sometimes there isn't reason, and you don't need a reason, and it's okay. And the fact that it worked, even though it didn't, I think is more impressive. And I did love the lead. She was so cute when she smiled, but was really creepy when she would give. She wasn't being like evil, but she was just sinister, a little sinister.
I think sinister is a good way to describe her.
Yeah, so I really enjoyed her performance too. I liked it. I didn't have a problem with any of the actors. I mean, I don't want to give too much away. I liked the boyfriend, even though I hated him at first, and then I grew to like it. It's good. It's really just it's a little bit of a character study, because you really do kind of get to know these characters and like see how they figure things out, and that's kind of cool. And man, the video editing was wicked to watch. It was a little scary, to be honest with you, but yeah, I enjoyed it. I liked it.
Jeff Mohr, what was your first impression of Influencer?
Well, I liked it too.
Yay.
Yeah, I thought I loved Cassandra Naud as what I would call the lead too. I would call her the lead, but
Sure.
I thought she was great. I was a little put off at the beginning because when you start, the lead character is Madison, right? I mean, she's the focus of it, and she came off as really sort of privileged, expecting certain things, I guess. And we find out later the situation that she's in. And it makes a little more sense. And as she's talking with Cassandra and they get to know her, or CW, I guess is a character, gets to know her, then it becomes a little more, it's explained a little better. But I can't say anything other than what everybody else has said. I thought the acting was really good, beautiful locations. And it is something that could happen. I mean, I caught myself thinking about all these people that disappear off of cruises and stuff, that nobody ever finds hide nor hair of them again. And there's all these conspiracy theories and everything. So it definitely, with all of the stuff going on in AI and videos and things like that, it could happen.
It could happen. Yeah, I enjoyed this quite a bit as well. I really got into it, and I was kind of like, I'm wondering, this movie probably should have had a theatrical run. It could have caught some attention, I think, with the right promotion. It's really, the locations are gorgeous. The characters are interesting, flawed, and work off each other really well. I mean, basically we have a cast of 4, right? I mean, there's a couple supporting characters under that, the guy at the bar and stuff like that. But there's basically these 4 characters that interact with each other, and each one has their own reflection of what's happening and motivations on why they're doing whatever they're doing. Even those that you can compare Jessica and Madison, and they're different. I think, Jeff, you were touching about that. So really interesting. I think Crystal, you said it was a character study, right? And it really is. It really is about the characters. Although there is some horror in there, and in the single white female sort of vein, in the thriller vein, because our character, there's a death or two. There's a death or two. And I really liked the when the credits came up. I was like, oh wow! I didn't even realize, it didn't even occur to me that I didn't get influencer at the beginning, and then when it does, it was like, well, that's really well timed. I like this. This is good thing. So I liked it. I had quite a good time with it. Good. Let's get into some spoilers. Let's talk about
I will say it kind of felt like it felt a little bit riffing on Psycho, because you almost like the Marion Crane character getting off in Psycho. We have this influencer who kind of drops out of the storyline, 30 minutes into the film, and then I was like, what? Wait a minute. Are we just going to follow her just going after different influencers at this point? But then there's a reason that it cycles back around by the end, which is okay. That makes perfect sense. But which kind of threw me off. Although I will say I did like I agree with Crystal. I love the second influencer comes on. I think.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And
I like that
too.
Because I felt like the first one, you were saying, Crystal, that you would have never done that, but she was sort of. It seemed to me she was there. Her boyfriend put her in that situation, right? Madison.
Yeah.
And was supposed to be there with her, and just plain didn't show up or didn't get on the plane. It seemed like
I thought he bailed and then told
I think he
her
had
to
a
go
job.
Anyway.
Yeah, because I think he had a job he had to do. I think he got caught up in a job, and then
it seemed like she was always dependent on him. So maybe that kind of makes sense,
right? And I felt like she was relatively inexperienced and was always kind of following his lead. So it made sense to me that then Sarah Canning as Jessica comes along later, and she's a lot more savvy and a lot less likely
naive.
Naive. That's the word I was looking for. That's the word
So her being alone actually kind of made sense to me, because if you look at her character, she's this whole guru type of so I feel like in a way, she just wanted some alone time to be away from that whole mentoring sort of, kind of thing, if that made sense. Does that make sense? Well, she was also older, more mature, and well, I mean, clearly she did figure it out. She figured it out. I mean,
didn't help her.
I don't want to be rash.
Yeah, because I think even if you think someone is, as she said, you're effing creepy. When I started laughing with that, I was like, oh, shit. You're going to die, bitch.
She wouldn't screw her out, yeah.
I was like, no. And then, I mean, I don't think you would ever really think that someone is going to be quite that crazy. Like that was...
She didn't know. She didn't know. She was already shown that she was that crazy.
Yeah.
Well, that whole campfire story that she did towards the beginning.
Madison.
It was kind of, I think right there I'd be like, okay, let's go back to shore.
Time to get back in the boat.
She laughed. Whew.
Played it off. She's trying to, trying to be ballsy. Yeah. But CW was, that character was, she's your Norman Bates, right? She's your Norman Bates in this movie, and we're following her. So it's really...
it seemed like she had a pattern, or she had
she had a target. That's
and she had procedures, like things that she did. It's not the first time she's done that, and so she had a series of things she was doing in order. But then when things didn't go right later on, when the boyfriend shows up, then she started having to fly by the seat of her pants, and she was. It just makes me think about that stuff. Makes me feel real uncomfortable, because any person you meet anytime during your daily life, you have no idea if they're telling you the truth about anything, and you're just not going to question them most of the time. It's like, well, okay.
If they're smooth, right? And this person was definitely smooth. I mean, she even knew how to finally break Jessica, right? Get into her ego and say that she's a big fan. She goes,
right. So that's I guess that's what I was thinking about, is people are just in general too trusting on stuff like that. Like there's a lot of people that go to campgrounds and RVs and travel around.
Oh yeah.
And they just think it's so great. It's this community. And I'm like, if I was a serial killer, that's where I'd be, There's no way. Anyway.
I just did a film that involved that.
Yeah.
Like people may think that I'm overly cautious, but I'm like, I'm not overly cautious. You just don't realize it only takes one person.
Right.
Okay. It's not like, oh, that doesn't happen often, but it could be the one time. And you know what? I don't really care about being around people that much to give a shit.
And psychopaths can be very, they know how to be charming.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Jeffrey Dahmer was very quiet.
Yeah.
And of course, her targets are craving attention. I mean, that's part of.
Oh yeah.
Part of what she's
that's
after.
Part of it.
Yeah. That's true. That's true.
She's taking advantage of that. They're going to be more susceptible if you give them attention. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
I didn't realize that was brilliant because CW takes Madison to her house or where she's staying and says it's like her place. And we find out later that she paid for it with Madison's credit card that she stole before. I didn't even get that until they discovered it, I guess.
Yeah, I wasn't even really thinking because he's like, I basically paid for it.
Nope.
Yeah.
Although I did wonder how long she was going to be able to get away with that because
right.
Like, does she? And I guess it's just kind of obviously she's a serial killer because she's done this before because you see what Madison sees when they get to the place and stuff. But is that how she survives? I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm.
Is this her whole way of surviving, or? I mean, I don't really care that they didn't tell us why or anything like that, but I guess it just gives you more questions. And I'm like, ooh, is this how she lives? Because I think she was already thinking she's got to move on to her next target.
Yep. And we know that there are previous ones from the island. So
yeah, that's what I was saying. She's a serial killer. Yeah. So this is what she has been doing. But
once she scams the identity and the credit cards and all that stuff.
Deposit on the island.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Good luck. You just never expect them to actually have the resolve to survive like Madison does. That they trick you though. They do a good shot at the beginning with her laying on the beach before you get into everything. I don't know if you caught that.
Yeah.
So that gives you the impression you don't know if she's going to make it. You're not. Because we kind of see an indication that she won't. But when she comes there and she finds the fish on the over top the fire and she's not there, that was a joy. That whole ending there on the island was fun.
God.
That made me very happy, and I was like,
I loved when she laughed. Actually, I thought that was funny too because she's crazy.
Oh, the CW,
yeah.
Although I would have been really pissed though if she killed Madison for real.
Oh yeah, me too.
I mean, if she went on the island and killed her and then went off doing her thing, I'd have been mad. But I don't know. It just felt. Although I kept thinking like
it's poetic justice delivered there, right?
At the same time, I'm like maybe she should have left her boyfriend's body.
Yeah, that's what I know. I was
know?
thinking the same thing.
When did she discover it was on there? Was it at first or?
When she got in the boat, she lifted the thing.
She lifted the thing.
Lifted right away,
yeah.
Right? Yeah.
I was like, wait.
I guess she's going to.
So how did she? She was in sad shape, but I was wondering how she managed to stay alive for I think it was 3 weeks or something like that.
I mean, you can get water if they have plants and stuff. She's a survivor. If you're on an island, you could survive. I mean, you can get food. There's going to be creatures and animals, and there's going to be plants where you can get liquids and waters. And I mean, I don't know what all grows in Thailand, but
maybe there's a coconut tree on there.
There might be coconuts, but I mean, there's other plants you can get liquid from, and rain, and just collect rainwater. There's ways to survive.
Well, maybe the other people, because she made it sound like CW made it sound like 3-4 days.
Yeah, because she's banking on these girls being prissy
helpless,
little bitches and helpless. Yeah, that's what she banks on. And that the other girls probably were. So it leads you to believe that maybe Madison has a lot more going on with
she
her
watched Survivor
than who
and
she
knew
was.
what
She
to
watched
do.
Yeah.
Survivor.
Or what was that other
television
show, Crystal, where they drop them all in the wilderness?
Oh yeah.
I
Were
forgot
they?
the name of it.
Alone? Is it Alone? I made
That
Jeff
sounds
watch
right.
it. I made Jeff watch it. Like they drop them in with nothing. Yes, isn't it awesome,
thank
Jeff?
you.
Like
Yeah,
it's exciting. That's a cool show.
That
So
doesn't
see,
sound
but I
exciting
have
to me.
learned some stuff from that. Like, I mean, it's good to have some skills. I can start fires. I know how to do that really well. I like fire.
That doesn't sound creepy at all.
No, not at all.
All right.
I like fire.
I like fire.
So we learned watch for the fire. Don't go to campgrounds.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go ahead and wrap this up before we give away all our secrets. And let's give our score 1 to 5.
Ooh, 1 to
our
5.
favorite scene. Christopher G. Mohr, you are up first.
Yeah, I think by the end I really enjoyed it. And I think it's one of those few times where the influencer angle, they really did a great job. I mean, the incorporation of deep faking, even how they showed her processing and stuff. I was like, okay, these people know what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't just people that just threw these terms out willy-nilly and didn't know anything about it. They knew about it. And I'll give this a 4 out of 5. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good sort of representation of influencer culture and added the whole sort of thriller serial killer type angle to it. And it's shot really well. It's got really great performances, including the main girl in it. I think she's really great. And as for favorite scene, I mean, I'm going for the obvious. I think when she goes back to the island at the end, that reveal I was so happy. That's the happiest I've been at the end of the movie in a while. Because it was just like, I was like, man, just getting some kind of comeuppance and just to know that you can't make assumptions about people. They'll surprise you every time. So I'll have to say the big reveal at the end.
Yes. All right, Crystal, your score 1 to 5. Favorite scene?
I'll give it a 4 too. I would say this will probably maybe not make it on my top 10, but I'm not sure. I mean, it just depends. We're only like 5 months into. I mean, it's a thoughtful one. My favorite scene is the heel to the throat. Clearly, it actually. I was like, move, no, horrible. Yeah, ouch. So, I mean, they didn't even have to show it. See, that's how you get away with doing stuff on the cheap, but making it creepy and scary. You don't even have to show it. Just the idea of it is enough.
It was effective.
A good sound effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Jeff, your score 1 to 5. Favorite scene?
Score 1 to 5. Oh, geez, you guys. Jeez Louise. I'm going 3.75, and I'm going to keep an eye out for Cassandra Naud, N-A-U-D. I thought she was great. She did have a great range. I mean, she played everything you could possibly play, just evil, sinister, conniving, and
sexy
and fresh and kind and sweet. So excellent. Favorite scene. Did I tell you my score?
You did.
Favorite scene. I'm gonna pick the campfire scene on the island when CW is telling Madison exactly what she's gonna do. And that is not the way I expected it to go, but apparently it worked. But wow, talk about naive.
Yep, that's the moment Norman looks through the peephole, right? So,
yeah.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
All right, I'm
Boy's best friend is his mother.
Yes. I like this movie quite a bit. I will give it a 4 as well.
Yay!
Honorable mention at the very least. It's got to be an honorable mention. Just just what they accomplished is really, really good. I'm going to go for Suitcase Sally.
Yes, that's perfect.
I just liked how
I
that
know
all wrapped up.
God, that actually, like, the shot was great.
Yes,
I was like, oh God, okay, yeah. That
which is shortly after the heel to the throat. And the fact that it was just sitting there for the rest of the movie was hilarious.
Right.
Yeah.
Did she leave?
Yep. Totally.
Oh man.
As far as you know.
Not gonna go well when somebody finally opens that suitcase. All right. Well, there you go. That's our review of Influencer. It is playing on Shudder now as we speak. So please check it out and let us know what you think. We know you have Shudder, and leave some comments down below. We'd love to hear what you think. And of course, hit the like, subscribe, share with the friend buttons.
Yes.
All that goodness. Yeah. All right. Crystal, Christopher, Jeff, thank you for joining me. This was a lot of fun.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's always enjoyable.
Yeah.
Make sure you follow us.
Careful who you follow.
Yeah, that was what it was supposed to be.
Careful
was that too weird? Was that too creepy?
I'll set your house on fire.
That wasn't weird at all.
I'm like,
quickly, let's say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Gruesome Magazine.
I'm so glad we all liked this movie. I wasn't sure because